Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Over on the I was like a second too early for my stuff here. Or I guess a second too late. Facebook page and my YouTube channel because I was testing something out. If you guys, some people might have seen it. It showed that we had two people who popped in, and I got out of there before I saw who popped in. But I was trying to do a test run to see about a different way to broadcast on Wednesday, but it would also have it so we're no longer doing Facebook. But at the same time, for me, it would probably benefit me more in the long run. So I was doing a test run because I wanted to make sure if I was doing a live video with my fancy schmancy. By the way, if you scan that, it takes you to my YouTube channel. I tape that to the back of my thing. Yeah, so if anyone wants to scan that, it's going to take you to the channel that you're probably already watching on. We are live now. Yes, we are live now. Yeah, so I was trying out a new thing because I have been playing around with this new phone, and we've been doing live broadcasts from the park with it, where we're facing this way with this going out towards you. But I've never done a broadcast with like me holding the camera like towards, like holding it that way. So then you guys are going to see yourself. And I wasn't sure if it would be a mirrored image or if it would be the correct image. So I was doing a test run. So I apologize if anyone came on there and they saw that quick little test run. But I kind of like the test run, and I'm thinking sometime, maybe obviously not today because we've already started doing the broadcast, but sometime in the very near future, we might go through and have it so we exclusively broadcast from YouTube because one, when you're doing those live broadcasts on your phone, if it's a vertical one, it does have it so YouTube alerts more people who might be watching. And when we've done a few from the park, we've gone up. We got 29 the one time, we got 12 another time, we got 17 another time, we got 9. So it's working like crazy, and I want to have it so we can do that. Plus the thing that I use to broadcast both things on, that does cost me every single month. I pay $25 for that. So it could be a cost saving thing too. So we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Hey, it was nice to meet you yesterday. Oh wait, different Christine. Congratulations on 4,000. Thank you so much. Oh wait, no, wait. Because usually, wait a minute. Now I'm confused. I'm so confused right now. Because your picture is not usually a castle one, but you're usually broadcasting face. I'm so confused right now. Okay, let's get this party started. So I was gonna do an entire episode about flower and garden, but the problem is I don't have. Yes, it was you. I was very confused for a second because I was like, wait a minute, no, her picture's not on there, and we always see her picture. So then I was like, is this someone with like a very similar name? That was you. Okay. So we are going to be going through and we're going to do an episode about flower and garden, but the problem is we can still do it, but the problem is I don't have all the pictures yet of the things on my phone. So because we don't have all the pictures on the phone of all the topiaries, I don't think it's going to be as exciting. So what I'm kind of thinking is maybe over the course of the next week, I'll have all of them on my phone so we can kind of go through and we can do an entire episode about the Flower and Garden Festival this year, and where we can actually go through and show you all the different pictures. And I feel like it might be more entertaining for you guys if you can actually see all the pictures, because right now I just have a few pictures of. I've got what? Let's see here. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9. So we don't. What I'm thinking is we'll go through and we'll have it so it's a different one. Sometime in the very near future. How about 41 facts about Figment for his 41st birthday? Okay, what we could do is we could do a Figment episode. So we're going to give you guys 3 options. We're going to do our intro, and while we do the intro, you guys can start throwing things into the comments about what items you want to do. So how about we'll do possibly a Figment episode, possibly an Ask the Expert episode, or possibly a a closer look at another attraction, and we'll narrow down the attractions after we go through our intros. What was that? Sounds like someone's dropping something like crazy outside right now. Oh, it's that guy's motorcycle. I don't like his motorcycle. Can you hear that? This guy drives his motorcycle sometimes at like 11 o'clock at night. Can you hear that? Or do I just look like a crazy person right now? All right, well, let's do our intro here. Oh my gosh. What are you doing, sir? No, it's definitely, it's not even in my build. That's how far away it is. It's the person who's across a completely different building than me. It sounds like fireworks. Oh, you know what it is? There's a place back here that sometimes does weddings, and I'm thinking it might be they throw fireworks up very rarely. I highly doubt they have a wedding right now at Wednesday at 9:30 at night, but that could be it because it sounds like fireworks. Because that's not the motorcycle guy. This has also become the most. This is like become a murder mystery episode of the Wednesday show. Who got killed today? Okay, let's calm it down there, buddy. Okay, so let's get to it. We're going to start the 759th episode of the Wednesday show. Shh, be quiet. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 759th episode of the Wednesday show. Today is Murder Mystery Wednesday. Will Brent Dodge die throughout the course of this episode? Who knows? But we'll find out as the hour progresses here. Today is March 6, 2024, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. It's definitely coming. I don't even know where it is. Let's get to the news for the week. Okay. What on earth? You guys are ruining the Wednesday show. Oh, I thought that actually worked for a second there. First off, thank you everyone who's been joining us for our Saturday in the park. If you didn't already know, every single Saturday. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? Let me write my neighbor. My neighbor knows the gossip about everything. Craig. What on earth is that noise? Okay. Craig will figure out sometime in the very near future. Roach. There's no roach here, but oh, there's definitely fireworks. I could just see a bunch of light on the building across the street from me. So there's fireworks going off over there, and they're projecting the light over here, and they just finished. Okay, so let's get to it. Thank you everyone who's been joining us for our Saturday in the park. If you don't already know, every single Saturday we do a broadcast over at my YouTube channel. Make sure you join us every single Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. You never know where we're going to be, but we're always going to be coming to you live from Disney. Oh, Craig just wrote back. There's an idiot shooting fireworks at the lake nearby. Makes sense. Okay. So, mystery is solved. Well, that murder mystery was not as exciting as we thought it was going to be, but who knows? Come back later on in tonight's episode to find out if I still live. Okay. I don't even know what I was going to say. Oh, let's check out our subscriber count because why not? We are currently sitting at wait a minute. 4. Whoa, that's a really small print dodge there. What? No, go back. There we go. We are currently at 4,009 subscribers. I would like to give a huge thank you to everyone out there who has subscribed yet. And if you did not already know, that's a great one. Celebrating 4,000 with fireworks. You're not already subscribed, please make sure you subscribe. 4,000 is an amazing number. I spent a little bit of time celebrating when I was at work when I found it out. And then I went right back to it, and we were going to have it. So we were continuing to work our way to our next big goal, which is a really cool goal, which is 5,000 subscribers. As you can see, we're currently 991 subscribers away from 5,000. If for some odd reason we hit 5,000 subscribers by 10:30 tonight, I will buy one of you guys a Disney gift card with $5 because I don't have a lot of money. So if you want that $5 gift card, send your friends over to subscribe before 10:30 so you guys can get to 5,000 subscribers and you can be kind of rich. Okay, let's get to it. So tonight, and as always, the fireworks have completely thrown me around. As always, let's think if we can have one here. Sometimes you hit people with rails because they shoot fireworks. They're not Patreon pals. If you're not a Patreon pal already and you're interested in becoming one, let me know and I will send you the information on how to become a Patreon pal today. Cling. Okay, thank you for our Patreon pals for being the sponsors of tonight's episode. Okay, so tonight we're going to be going through one of 3 possible topics for you guys to choose through. I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to throw your votes in. But what we're going to do is we're going to do an episode, either an Ask the Expert. We're going to throw any and all Disney-related questions to me, and I will go through and answer them. Or we can do an episode all about Figment, the lovable purple dragon over at Figment, or Epcot. You know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, we can do a closer look at a specific Disney attraction, which will be voted on by you guys. So throw your votes into the comments below, and I will go through and answer any and all questions. If you choose the answer all questions one, we'll do that one. Otherwise, we'll do a Figment episode, and otherwise, we will go through and have it so we do a different episode. I kind of feel like Figment might win. Figment. 1, 2. All right, so wait, 1 for Figment, 2 for Figment, 1 for closer look, 3 for Figment. Right now it is a 3-1 vote, with Figment being in the lead. We got another vote for Figment. How about a combo of Figment and a ride on Journey? We were going to be doing Journey to Imagination and Figment. We're going to go hand in hand. So, yes. So another vote for Figment there. You guys have about 1 minute left to throw your votes in. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes for Figment and 1 votes for the other things. Hey, Dino is King. We got another vote for Figment. We'll guys throw another few seconds on here and see what people want to do. Okay, and we're going to enter a vote in 5, 4, 3, 2. 2 tiny wings, eyes big and yellow, horns of a steer. What a lovable fellow! From head to tail, he's royal purple pigment, and there, voila! You've got a figment of your imagination. Dreamfinder, I'm just great! Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking all about that lovable purple dragon named Figment. However, before we get into the history of Figment before we get into who Figment is, let's do a little bit of backstory on how Figment got to be where he is today. Now, if you guys joined us 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we did an entire episode about It's Past Dino is King's bedtime. Dino is King. That's okay if Dino is King is. As his godfather, I approve of him watching his godfather. Anyways, so let's go through and do a little bit of history about how Figment got to be Figment. And so 2 weeks ago we talked about the Hidden Mickeys, and when we talked about the Hidden Mickeys, we kind of went into a little bit of the back history of how a Hidden Mickey was created, specifically back in 1982. So back in 1982 would be the time when Epcot Center would open up, October 1st, 1982 to be specific. But leading up to 1982, when they were going through and creating the creation of Epcot itself, one of the things that the Disney executives said that they wanted was to have it so there was no Disney characters throughout Epcot. They wanted to have it so it was kind of like a Mickey Mouse free zone, which is redonkulous if you ask me, because Mickey Mouse is the leader of the club that's made for you and me. MICKEYMOUSC. By the way, it is kind of weird that we have not had any fireworks in the last 30 seconds. But so when they're going through and having it, so they were not going to have any type of not any different Disney characters. They decided what they would do instead was they're going to create a character named Figment. Now, of course, obviously, they went through the Hidden Mickey thing, and that would have come out at October 1st of 1982. However, when the park was also being created, they had ideas for other pavilions that were going to be opened up shortly after the park opened up, with one of them being one that opened up on March 3rd, 1983, which would be Journey into Imagination, or the Imagination Pavilion. So let's talk a little bit about how the Imagination Pavilion became the Imagination Pavilion, because it's got kind of a really weird, unique history about it. So when they were going through and trying to figure out all the different areas that they were going to have for Epcot, they had it so they wanted some very concrete things. Things like technology. That would come with things like horizons. It would come with scientific proof for things that would make the world go round, like universe of energy, world of motion. There was actual concrete mechanics that would go through and have it so one part of Future World focused completely on. Now, let's first do a little fun fact about Future World, because one of my favorite details that can be found still to this day over in Epcot is if you go to the side that has Guardians of the Galaxy, Mission Space, and Test Track, all of those things are based on actual science, concrete proof. And if things are not completely set in stone, if this doesn't meet this and this doesn't meet this, things won't work. For instance, if you are going on a spaceship and not all of your pieces are lined up, things just aren't going to work out. So things have to come to a complete point in order for them to work. There is a solid start, there is a solid end point, and if those things aren't lined up perfectly, you're out of luck. Now, on the opposite end, over on the other side of what was Future World, now it's considered now it's World Nature / part of World Celebration with Figment. But prior to that, if you would go over to the seas, if you would go to the Land Pavilion, and if you would go over to Journey into Imagination, those ideas were completely different than what was on the other side of Future World. So if you went to them, they had it so there was no real solid start and there was no real solid end. Because water, there's no start of water, there's no end of water. Water flows through the ocean. Same thing with the land. There is not a solid starting point, there's not a solid end point. Hills and grass and everything else goes and flows around the world. And same thing with the imagination. The idea of having it so these things would flow in and out throughout time and have it so your imaginations went wild, it was a great idea. So if you actually go over to this thing, let's see if it's actually on the My Disney Experience app. I don't think it's going to be, but let's take a look anyways. If you actually go into those areas still to this very day, even the sidewalks, like the actual planters that's actually over there, having it so, you don't go into the trees. All of those planters actually still come to a complete point. There is a solid starting point. There is a solid ending point in all of the architecture that is found on the one side. You can kind of see it. Actually, you can really see it. So you can see there are solid points. There are solid start points and end points for us to actually see. Now, if you go to the other side of World Showcase, you'll notice that all of the planters don't have a solid start point and don't have a solid end point. It completely flows from one planter to the next. So it's one of those things that is just a great, great, great little detail that most people just don't really pay attention to. But that is the big difference between the two sides. So with that idea, they said, okay, we want to have it so we put Figment on the one side because just like the land, just like the water, there really is no starting point or ending point. It just kind of flows from one spot to another, much like a wave, much like a hill. The idea of imagination starts and ends, or it does not really start and end. It just continues to flow from one idea to the next. There's not a solid start point, not a solid ending point. So in order to go through and create an idea about imagination, the Imagineers kind of said, okay, what we have to do is we have to kind of come up with an idea of how to express what imagination is and how to tell the story of imagination. But we need to have it so it's a fun, crazy storyline, because if it's not a fun, crazy storyline, people just aren't going to care, because imagination is one of those things that is a great storyline that, especially for Disney, I mean, look at all the imagination that they've had throughout the world. And to have it so they would go through and share that with people on how imagination truly works, they needed to come up with a great character to tell the story. And that's where we entered Figment, our amazing friend. Wait a minute, I just literally sang the song now. Bum 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 bum. Horns of a steer, eyes big and yellow. Wait, he's a livable fellow. Anyways, so the so we come up with the idea of that. Now, Tony Baxter would actually come up with the entire concept, or not the entire concept. He obviously had help, but Tony Baxter would be the main Imagineer on the attraction for this idea of imagination, which, as you can probably imagine, was pun. As you can probably imagine, was a huge undertaking because since the entire Disney company is based around the idea of imagination and make believe and making dreams come true, having it so your entire task is based around creating an attraction on those ideas was kind of a crazy thing for you to actually go through and create. So when they actually put him up to the task, he said, okay, we need to have some sort of character that will go through and teach us, but I don't know what his name's going to be. I don't know anything really about him. We just have to kind of make this up as we go along. Hence, use your imagination. So he was watching an episode of Magnum P.I. And while he was watching this episode of Magnum P.I., there was a character who said the line, a figment of your imagination. And when the character said that, he goes, aha, Figment. That is a great name for a character. So the character of Figment was born in that moment. Now, Figment would also have it so there was going to be a sidekick with him, which would be known as the Dream Finder. Now, when they would go through and have it so they would create the Dream Finder, they wanted to have it so it was a lovable, jolly guy, kind of like Santa Claus, but not Santa Claus, and have it so they would go through and have it so the two of them would team up together to help show you, the guest, how imagination truly works. I speak in yellow sound like I speak in yellow. I do speak in yellow, so that's fair. Hey, Wishing Mouse. They take away all the fun of not running the streets. Yes, they do. I had a great time visiting Figment and on my only Disney trip. Oh man. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Dream Finder, because if we don't talk about the Dream Finder, we can't truly talk about Figment. So the idea of the Dream Finder was created to kind of be a representation of Walt Disney in some kind of way. It was part Walt Disney, it was part Jolly Santa Claus, and it was a part just the Imagineers in general all banding together to create this amazing character known as the Dream Finder. So when you would go on the attraction originally had it so we had the Dream Finder, and he was on the Dream Catcher. Now, fun fact, the Dream Catcher machine actually was around in Epcot up until the Creation shop opened up at Epcot. If you went over to Mouse Gear, which was the old shop that was there, you could actually find his vehicle up in the windows, and then they got rid of it because I was so disappointed. When the brand new shop opened up, the very first thing I did was actually look. I was like, okay, it's got to be in here somewhere. And then when it wasn't there, I was absolutely disappointed. Speaking of exterior, isn't there a Figment in the cement? Ooh, not anymore. we'll get to that. Start throwing your questions in. We're going to go and we're going to start answering questions in just a minute here. I'll do a quick little backstory on the Dream Finder, and then we're going to go into that. So when they created the Dream Finder, they wanted to have it so it was a guy who was solely the purpose of helping us be transported through imagination and helping us learn how imagination truly works. So the first thing he does is he introduces himself. I am the Dream Finder. And then he has it so he creates a brand new person for us to go through and help join us on this journey, which of course is going to be none other than Figment, who we all know and love today. Actually, it's funny because there are people who I know who never did the original Figment, and they absolutely hate Figment. They're like, I don't understand why people like this dragon. And I'm always like, but it's amazing. The current attraction might not be the best attraction, but it's still, anyways. Okay. I'm still getting over the fireworks that happened earlier. If you guys are just joining us, you guys missed quite the show for the first 8 minutes of the show tonight. There were fireworks going off. Couldn't understand what was going on. We weren't sure if we're going to live or die. It was a murder mystery, and I'm still keep on thinking about those fireworks going off in the back. All right. So in order to do that, they actually hired an actor whose name was Ron Schneider, which Eric literally just put in the chat room as well. So Ron Schneider would actually be called on to be an actor to help present the actions of the Dreamfinder and do the voice of the Dreamfinder. And then in addition to that, they would go through and have it so Ron Schneider would actually become one of the walk around Dreamfinders at the park and actually go through and meet different characters. As Eric says, I remember the Ron Schneider episode well. I actually, amazingly enough, I was actually just talking to my parents about this episode today. So Ron Schneider had a book called From Dreamer to Dreamfinder that came out probably 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, but we interviewed him right here in this very condo. Well, he was at his house, but we did an episode about it about 10 years ago where we interviewed him. He told us all about his book. He told us about his entire journey from being a stage actor all the way up until he got one of the greatest gigs in the world, which is playing the actual Dreamfinder. So we have our people. We've got the Dreamfinder, we've got Figment, and now we have a brand new attraction. Now, the original attraction would go through, and it would have it so you would enter pretty much right into the building right away, and as soon as you entered, you loaded up. So it wasn't like how it is today where it's kind of like that long line. It was actually you loaded up a little sooner than where you load onto the attraction now. So you go through, and while you would go through, it would take you through all the different stages of imagination. First off, we had this amazing room where we saw the Dreamfinder and Figment in the Dreamcatcher, and they would go through and they would tell you this entire story, and you felt like you had this great one-on-one time with him. And the reason you felt that way is because you truly did. Because what they had was there was actually 6, or maybe it was 4, I can't remember. This is like a spur of the moment episode, so I apologize if there's some things that I'm not going to remember. But you would go through and have it so you would go through in these rooms, and there was 4 or 6. I want to say it's 6 for some reason. Rooms, and so each room would have a Dreamfinder that was telling the exact same spiel, but he was in a different spot. So you would be in a group of 5 different cars or 4 different cars, and while you would go through, this Dreamfinder would be telling you one thing, and then this one that was right behind you would be starting off the spiel, 2 minutes behind, and then the one after that would be 2 minutes behind that. It was a really, really cool way that they went through and actually told the story and had this amazing thing. But then you would go through, and Figment and the Dreamfinder would show you different ways that you could use your imagination, whether it was with musical notes, what delightful melodies those would make. Oh, a paintbrush, I'll use that. Or a rainbow, I'll use that to paint with. And we would eventually get to rooms like that white room. I don't know if you guys remember the white room. The white room was hands down, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful rooms that Disney's ever created. There are 3 rooms. 3, let's count them right now. 3 Disney rooms, in my opinion, that are probably the greatest Disney rooms that have ever been created, and 2 of them no longer even exist. But one of them is still around. That is going to be the animation building over at California Adventure. I absolutely love that room. It's one of my favorite rooms in the world. Every time I go out to Disneyland, I spend at least 2 to 3 hours inside that room just taking it all in, because it's just one of the most beautiful rooms I've ever been inside of. Another one was over at Epcot. Ironically, we're talking about Epcot right now, and it was just a few years ago. It was over at the Odyssey. It was that really cool room where they showed you like the future projects that Epcot was going to have, and they had like the model of Epcot in the middle, and they had it till those walls. I thought that was like the coolest room. I used to go in there and spend so much time in there, and I was like, oh, I know the whole spiel, but it was so cool. And then on top of that, it was this white room. This white room that was in Figment was one of those rooms that even as a kid, I remember thinking, this is the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's such a pretty room. And every single time I think about that attraction, the first thing I think about is 1, Dreamfinder doing its introduction, and 2, that room. Like, there was just something so cool and magical about that room that if I could go back in time and see it one more time, I would be a very happy person. Okay, so before we continue going on, we'll talk a little bit more about the original attraction. Then we're going to talk about the history of how it switched into the rendition that we have now. Let's go through, because we do have a few questions that are popping up there. If you have a question, feel free to throw it into the comments, and I will go through and answer as many questions as possible as we continue here. Speaking of the exterior, isn't there a Figment in the cement? Aha, there was, but there actually is not anymore. So let's pull out our trusty little thingamajigger here once again. Oh, and the map is still up, so this is actually perfect. Oh, but it's frozen. No, unfreeze, unfreeze, unfreeze. It's frozen. All right, let's pull up our map here. So it was technically backstage, so you could kind of see it, but you couldn't really see it. And I'm going to bring it up exactly where it is. Okay, so here is the Imagination Pavilion, and let's move in a little bit closer here. So in the back corner there of the Imagination Pavilion, in that blue room, we've got hands down my favorite bathrooms in all of Epcot. Like, if you want to have a good bathroom where it's gonna be quiet and that also plays old Epcot music, that's the bathroom you use. But if I'm at the park, don't use it because I don't want to have to wait in line. So the area that's on the left-hand side of your screen there is actually going to be a backstage area. So there's still a gate there. So there's a gate there, and the gate's one of those gates that can open up in the middle, like those big gates that you see found, going to backstage areas of all of Disney. And then there's also a little walk path for cast members who are just walking. They're not carrying anything big. And so those cast members would be able to walk around that area. So guests could technically get to that spot and get right to the spot where it said cast members only. And if you looked on the ground there, they actually had a figment that was drawn on the ground, and it was either above or below, I can't remember. It actually had Figment's autograph there. Now, this picture was created by none other than Ron Schneider, which we were talking about earlier. And Ron Schneider actually, he used to do the autographs for Figment as well when he would meet as Dreamfinder. So he placed that there. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, they were doing remodeling backstage. And unfortunately, it was filled in. I don't know if like the cast members or whoever they hired didn't know the history behind it and were just like, oh, it looks like someone drew in this wet cement here. Let's just fill in this hole. But unfortunately, because of that, we did lose that Figment in the cement. So he's not there anymore. I did check about a year ago, and I haven't checked since then, but I did check about 1 year ago, and he was not there anymore. Maybe he has come back. Maybe next time I'm at Epcot, I'll go take a look. But yeah, last time I was there, unfortunately, he is no longer there. What is that nasty skunk smell? It is burnt coffee. So if you're ever wondering what that smell is, it is not a skunk at all. It's actually a burnt coffee smell that is just put into these little balls. So if there's these balls that are literally like yay big, so small, you can just kind of fit your eye inside of. And what they do is they put those little balls into a tube, and one little ball can last you throughout pretty much the entire day. And so the Imagineers, what they do, or the cast members, what they do is they restock it at the end of the night and have it so it'll go through and keep on popping out that different smell throughout all the different things. So that is part of the thing. Okay, Rainbow Tunnel is part of the original ride. Yes, let's actually talk about that. Okay, so when you would go through the entire attraction, at the end of the attraction, you would go into ImageWorks. Now, ImageWorks is still a thing today. It's not as elaborate as a thing as it once was. Now, first off, I would like to point out that that area that you go into now, it was a little bit smaller because that was actually part of the ride area was still in that area. The original attraction was longer than what the current attraction is. You had a little bit more track than what we have currently. So in that original attraction, you go through and then you go through the ImageWorks, there was an upstairs part. That upstairs part is now currently a DVC lounge. And up on that second part, they unfortunately got rid of it. But up on that second part, there was a rainbow tunnel. And that's one of those things that most people do vividly remember. If you were a child of the 80s or 90s or just visited the 80s and 90s and you ever went to that second floor of Epcot, it's one of those things that you probably remember in some way, shape, or form. I vividly remember going through that tunnel as a child. And I remember probably when I was like a teenager thinking, what was that? Or like, where did I see that at? And then it took me about another 5 years until I realized what it was. And for 5 years, I just sat there thinking, oh, what on earth is this thing? I miss it. But now we know. Do you like the Figment meet and greet area? I absolutely love the new Figment meet and greet area. So let's talk a little bit about the Figment meet and greet area. And then we're going to go into the second rendition of Figment in the attraction. So if you've ever gone to Epcot in the last, well, since September of this year, Figment started to do meet and greets over at the Imagination Pavilion. Let's see if I can actually find my picture of me with Figment. But while we do that, I'm going to continue talking here. So when they decided to do that, I feel a lot of people don't like the look of Figment right now. I think Figment looks great. I truly I think it's just a great look for Figment because I feel like he looks more like he does on the attraction. He doesn't look as much like he did in the meet and greets of days past, but I think he looks a lot more like he does on the actual attractions, which I think is just a great addition. And other people are really, 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 really upset about the way that he looks right now. There he is. Me and Figment. All right. So, anyways, so I really like it because one, in the background of this picture, it's kind of tough to see. You have to look behind my big head. Um, you can see the Dreamfinder and the Dream Catcher there, and then to the left of this meet and greet area, there is a computer screen and not screen, and on it there's like a circle, and then around it it says like Dream, Inspire, Create, different things like that. This is actually featuring video footage from the original attraction. So at the towards the end of the attraction, you used to go through this room and it had it so there was all these different cartoon versions of Figment going through, and he was doing things like playing baseball and running around. And the video footage that you can see on that part of the meet and greet is actually the exact same footage that we saw on the original Figment attraction. So for me, I think that's just like a really cool nod to the original attraction. But unfortunately, the original attraction disappeared. Now, before we get into why it disappeared, let's talk a little bit about why Figment looks the way that he does. Actually, let's pull this up because it's going to be the perfect way to do it. Okay. So Figment is a purple dragon, and I know what you're thinking. I've never seen a purple dragon before except for Figment. Why is that? Well, because most people, when they go through and they think about dragons, they usually think of like green or red or not purple. And so when the Imagineers were going through and creating the dragon of Figment, they said, perfect, we have this idea. We're going to have a dragon. It's going to be an amazing dragon, and we're going to make him green with black on him. Like it's going to be like, black spikes and have it. So like it's going to be this really cool looking dragon. And they were all set to have it. So this dragon was going to be the bee's knees of Epcot. Now, the problem that they had was a pretty big one. Now, Disney goes through and they have it. So they're trying to find different sponsors for the attraction. And when they go through trying to find different sponsors for the attraction, the sponsor that they actually got was none other than Kodak Film. Now, Kodak Film loved the idea of playing with the idea of imagination. They had already been sponsoring the spot next door, which had making memories, but they wanted to have it so there was going to be something in Magic Journeys, I'm just like getting completely distracted here. What happened to those fireworks that happened at the start of the show? Anyways, so Kodak came in and they saw the green dragon and they said, oh, that's not going to work. Unless you change the color of the dragon, we are not going to do this. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that's a weird request. Is it because purple is more lovable? Like more people are going to enjoy the color of Figment if he's purple, opposed to green and black? Like it's green and black, too dark of colors when you're at an amusement park? No, it's actually because of Fuji Films. So Fuji Films was Kodak's main competitor in 1982/1983 when they're going through there. And when they're going through and creating this, they wanted to have it so Fuji, their colors were green and black, the same color that Figment was going to be. And Kodak said, we cannot have it. So we go through and create a dragon that's the color of our competitor. You need to change that, and you need to change it now. So the Imagineer said, no problem. Kodak, we got your back. We're going to make it so it's a purple dragon. And so they create a lovable purple dragon named Figment. Aww. However, Kodak wasn't still completely happy with what was going on. Because yes, we did not have our green and black, but we had a purple dragon. So they said, you know what? we need to have it so there is something that's going to represent Kodak in some way, shape, or form. So in some scenes, not all the scenes, but in some scenes, Figment was given a yellow and red sweater because yellow and red would be the colors of Kodak. So the reason that Figment actually wears yellow and red is because of Kodak Film, the sponsor of the attraction, which I think amazing. Like, we got two really cool fun facts about Figment and its color based off of the competitors and Kodak Film. So I know you're thinking, why are you talking about the sponsor? How is this going to, wrap into everything? Well, it's going to wrap into kind of the demise of Figment, because a lot of people today, like I said, there's a lot of people who aren't big Figment fans because they might not remember Figment from the glory days of 1983 until 1999, when the attraction was first, an amazing attraction that everyone adored. But unfortunately, when you're a sponsor of an attraction, there are different things that you're looking at. Are there enough people going to this attraction? If there are enough people going to this attraction, great. We got no problems. Hopefully they are recognizing Kodak, and we can have it so we go on a merry, happy, jolly, good time through life with lots of people buying Kodak because of Figment. However, in the late 1990s, Journey into Imagination with Figment, which is not the greatest attraction, or it was still a great attraction, but it wasn't having as many people go through and go on the attraction as there was in the past. So Kodak started to say, listen, we have a problem. Figment, he's just not doing it. Kids of today aren't, recognizing the potential that Figment has, and we want to have it so we bring a little bit more joy, a little bit more wonder to the world, and we're going to give you money to completely redo Journey into Imagination with Figment. And the Imagineer said, no, we are not touching Figment. Figment is beloved. People love Figment. We're not going to get rid of Figment in any way, shape, or form. And they said, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but we're going to pull our sponsorship. And Disney says, whoa, 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 whoa. We kind of need your money. So what do you guys think? And they said, we want a brand new attraction, no Figment, no Dreamfinder, no nothing, no fun. What we're going to do is we want to have it so it's going to go hand in hand with another attraction that we created not that long ago with you, which is right next door, called Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Now, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience would open up back in like 1996-ish, 1995. I can't think of the exact year off the top of my head right now. But when Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, or the Audience, would open up, they had it so there was this amazing storyline that was going on with the Inventor of the Year Award. Now, with the Inventor of the Year Award, we brought in some of our beloved characters from the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise, characters like Wayne Selinsky, Nick, and Adam. We had other characters there too, but Cork was there, but we're not going to go through all the characters. But one brand new character was created specifically for the attraction called Dr. Nigel Channing. And they brought in famous actor from the UK, Eric Idle, to play Dr. Nigel Channing. And Dr. Nigel Channing would be the host of the Inventor of the Year Award. And when they went through and did this with him, they said, listen, we want to have it so you are going to be a character, not in just one attraction, but in two attractions. So they were going to bring Eric Idle over to Journey into Imagination and completely kill the Dreamfinder off. That's right. No more Dreamfinder. It's just not right to have Dreamfinder. So let's get rid of him, and we're going to bring in a brand new character instead, and the character of Dr. Nigel Channing. So this new rendition of Figment didn't even have Figment in it. We had literally one notification of Figment throughout the entire attraction. It was the very end of the attraction. But overall, it was an attraction that was mainly focused around Dr. Nigel Channing going through and explaining to you what imagination was. Very boring, not whimsical. No one showed up, with the exception of me and my parents. I remember us going, and my little brother, Tyler. I remember the four of us going back in like 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. It was only open up for a very, very short window of time, and no one went. I remember going and thinking, this is awful, because I love the original Figment. And I remember telling my parents that wasn't very good. And one of the few times where I've gotten off an attraction and immediately was like, that was, I don't know if that was worth it at all. So luckily Kodak realized, oh, we may have made a mistake. The thing that people went to this attraction for was not to learn about imagination. It was about Figment himself. So we're going to bring back Figment in some way, shape, or form. So they would go through and create a third rendition of the attraction, and this third rendition of the attraction would have it so we would bring Figment back, and now he was with Dr. Nigel Channing. So Dr. Nigel Channing and Figment would be hand in hand and taking you through a sensory open house so you could learn a little bit about imagination. Great idea, right? Right? Kind of. It's still going strong. I mean, maybe not strong, but it's still going. So let's do a quick little walkthrough of the attraction. Start throwing your questions in the comments as well, because as soon as we finish the little walkthrough, we're going to go to your questions in the comments. So when you're first going through the line, there are several different references to different live action films that Disney has produced. Things like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There's Flubber, which is a movie from the 1990s starring Robin Williams, where it was a remake of The Absent-Minded Professor. You can also find this little yellow machine in the line. That's Weebo. That is Robin Williams' assistant in the movie Flubber. And then if you go through the extended queue, which is almost never open, you can also find Wayne Szalinski's hat that he also wore in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Then when you're going through, you can also find things on the walls, and it has things like the Flubber Lab. It's got Dr. Wayne Szalinski's door. It also has Flubber's door. It also has Dr. Nigel Channing's door, and it also has Professor Philip Brainerd, who is Robin Williams' character there. And then we also have a door for Dean Higgins. Dean Higgins appeared in the 1969 film The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, the 1971 film Now You See Him, Now You Don't, and 1973 film The Strongest Man in the World, which is the Dexter Riley trilogy. When you would actually get on the attraction, well, not when you would, when you do, because you can still go on this attraction today. When you go on the attraction, the first thing we do is we learn that we are going through the 5 human senses and how they affect the imagination. After you go through the first little section, on the wall on the side, you'll find a door for Dean Finder. My mom always makes the joke that that's her because my dad's name is Dean, but in reality, it is a nod to the Dream Finder. So the Dream Finder kind of came back for this attraction, but not completely. Then we go into our first room, which is going to be the Sound Lab. And in the Sound Lab, we have it so Figment shows up, and he has it so a choo-choo train runs us over. This is our first of the 5 senses that we touch. Touch is one of the ones that everyone was. So then we go into our next thing, which is the sight room. Now, the sight room, between the sound room and the sight lab, we are going to go past another door. It's a computer lab. In front of it, there is a sign that says no tennis shoes allowed. There are some tennis shoes at the ground. Again, this is a reference to the 1969 film, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. On the wall, you can also find the characters like Willie Daniels. Willie Daniels was in The Shaggy Dog. You can find Merlin Jones. He was in a show called the movie called The Misadventures of Merlin Jones, starring Tommy Kirk and Annette Funicello. We also have a reference to, who else? We got 2 other characters there, Dexter Riley, and I am drawing a blank on who the 4th one is. So you go through that. On the right-hand side after that, we have a white bulletin board. On that white bulletin board, on the top left corner, we have it so there is a nod to 1401. 1401 is 1401 Flower Street, the headquarters of Walt Disney Imagineering. On there, we also have a Hidden Mickey on the right-hand corner. Sometimes we have one on the bottom as well, but almost always on the right, top right corner of the entire thing. Then we get into the site lab. There we have it. So we have an eye chart in front of us, and they say, if we can all read, and then all of a sudden Figment comes out and says, with Figment, you can see things differently. It's not about seeing with your eyes, it's about seeing with your imagination. So a few different fun facts that are found in this room. There are 2 tables that are on the area in front of you. The one on the right-hand side has a hat on it. This is the actual hat. It's the actual prop from Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Again, we saw the one that's in the one line. That's a different hat that he wears in the movies, and this one is a different one as well. So he's got 2 different hats in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Honey, I Blew Up the Baby or Blew Up the Kid. We see both hats either in the line or on the ride itself. On our left-hand side, on the left-hand table, you can find some earpieces, and the one earpiece actually has 2 additional earpieces added to it to make a Hidden Mickey. Then we go around the corner and we go past the butterfly. The butterfly is one of those things that it's such a simple, amazing trick. And a lot of people will go through and be like, I don't know how they did that. And even my nephew, when we went on the ride with him a few weeks ago, he was like, "What? The butterfly disappeared." He was like trying to wrap his head around it. It is a simple mirror effect. So on this side, we've got a butterfly. On this side, we don't. So with the mirror, there is a thing going back and forth on both sides of the mirror. On the one side, there's half a butterfly. On the other side, there's no butterfly at all. So when you're on the one side, it looks like we've got a full butterfly. When we get to the other side, it looks like we've got a full nothing. Then we get into the smell lab, and just like we had people asking earlier about the smell, it is a burnt coffee smell, and it is awful. But one of my favorite things that is found in this room is, one, you've got all the different canisters on the wall of all, or on the ground and on the wall, of different things that you might be able to smell. You can only ever smell a skunk, but we have things like roses, freshly cut grass. We've got amazing smells that could be there, but instead we get the skunk smell. And Figment says one of my favorite lines of the entire attraction: "Woohoo! You win 1 cent." And it's supposed to be like CENT, but in reality it's SCENT. It's a play on words, but there's also a lot of different play on words all around the wall. There's things like tubes that say "makes sense," like "makes sense." We got the scent vent and so many other different little things. Next time you're on this attraction, take a look at all those pipes on the wall, because every single one of them has a really clever puns on them. And it is one of those things that I think Figment might not be the greatest attraction compared to what it used to be. However, that room alone, I think some of the details in there, amazing. Then we go past the Dream Lab, which is just, you hear snoring. Then we go past the Tickle Lab, and then we get to Figment again, and Eric Idle, aka Dr. Nigel Channing, tells us, "After that big mess in the smell lab, I hesitate to put you into the touch and taste labs because, one, we can't really touch anything when we're at an attraction, and two, we can't really taste anything when we're on an attraction." And Figment says, "Well, that's great. We'll go to my open house instead. It's much more fun." And then Dr. Nigel Channing says, "Figment, you're turning this whole idea upside down." "Upside down? Now you're talking. That's the best idea you've had all day." Bum-ba-da-bum. So then you go through Figment's open house, which is an upside down house. Out front, we find out that Figment drives a pickup truck, naturally. And inside, we got a bunch of giant crayons. These are actually the same exact giant crayons that you used to be able to buy back in the 1990s that were also piggy banks. If you look closely, you can see that the piggy bank holes are there for some of them, but a lot of them have been covered up. Then we continue going through his house, and in there we've got things like Figment as the Mona Lisa, Figment as that general dude, lots of different paintings of Figment as different people. If you look up when the toilet's above you, there are 2 circles on the ground along with the toilet bowl. It actually makes a hidden Mickey, one of my favorite hidden Mickeys ever, because I just think it's funny that they're using a toilet to make a hidden Mickey. Then we go through the next area, which brings us to our final room, and we have Dr. Nigel Channing there, and he says that maybe everything's okay, and then Figment's like, "Imagination is a blast," and we see tons of Figments in front of you. This is actually a nod to the original attraction. Almost every single Figment there is doing something that Figment was doing in the original attraction. However, the one that I always like to point out to people is, if you look, one of them is hang gliding from a music sheet. If you look at the music sheet, it's called One Little Spark. And if you look at the top right corner of it, you can actually find a thing of the Dream Catcher. I don't think you can see the Dream Finder, just the Dream Catcher is up there. And then we go through our final room, which is Figment on the moon he's on a planet with Dr. Nigel Channing being the moon. And then we get off of the attraction. Yay! Okay, let's go to your questions in the comments. I don't know if anyone's had any questions. I haven't been paying attention to that at all, but hopefully we have a few different questions. Journey into your imagination was short-lived, and it was hands down one of the worst attractions of all time. Figment also was. So a lot of people will ask about where Figment's from. Figment was originally created specifically for Epcot, but then he did appear in some educational specials back in the late 1980s. I think my daughter is still traumatized by the Figment ride. She shouldn't be, because it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The butterfly illusion is so cool that they have that on the Disney Wish in the Imagineering Lab. Yes, that's true. I forgot that it was on there. The Gravity Lab was renamed. There's an open house and the Singing Moon. Yeah. Okay. Anyone Anyone else out there have any questions about Figment? So we have now had 41 years of Figment, the lovable purple dragon. I love him. You love him. We all love him. And I do have quite a few Figment stuff. I got that one right there. I got the popcorn bucket, which we've shown a few times. I also have the current popcorn bucket that just came out for this year's Festival of the Arts, which just looks like the Imagination Pavilion. It's way on the other side of the room, so I'm not going to get it. I also have the gold statue of Figment that they sold at the parks for the 50th anniversary. Did you get all the Figment comics? I did. I absolutely love the Figment comics. Those are in a drawer over there, so I'm not going to get that. There's also, it's over on that table. It's not one of the top ones, so I have to look for it. They did come out with a Figment book, a golden book that just came out a few months ago, and I did get that as well. So amazing, absolutely amazing. One of my favorite things of all time. I think Figment is just, I feel like he's kind of underrated compared to what he used to be. Now I'm looking on. I feel like I thought I had something Figment right next to me too. But I like the idea. I'm glad that someone threw out the topic of Figment tonight, because I enjoy talking about Figment. I know my medal with Figment's in my room. Why did they make the? Let me try again. Why did they make the meat character so tall? He's small in the ride. I know originally he met small as a puppet on the Dreamfinder. I think that's what makes him off. Not. What they did was okay, because I actually really like the meet and greet with him now, and I think I'm one of the few people who do. But the original one was Dreamfinder with him as a puppet, and you could go through and have it so it was Figment talking to you, and it was Ron Schneider or the other actor there being Dreamfinder along with Figment. And then they would switch over, and they actually had it so it was another Figment, and he was more small and squashed. And I know some people really like that Figment, and I never felt like it looked like Figment. And so what they did for this current Figment, I just saw another Figment in my room. I got a Lionel Mationette Figment over there. He's just staring at me right now. But what they did for this final rendition, or the current rendition of Figment, was they literally took his proportions on the attraction and they just made it life size. So that's why he is so tall, is because they have it so he's the exact same shape, feet, legs, torso, tail, head, as what he is found on the attraction. That's what they did. So the second rendition of him was more short and stout, kind of like a little teapot, and this one is more true to how he actually looks on the attraction. So I know some people don't like it. I think it looks great because it looks like just a bigger version of what we see on the attraction. And I didn't really like that second one. I felt like he was too unproportioned to what we saw on the attraction, if that makes sense. But I also get why people like that one compared to the one that is now. I think everyone's got everyone's got a different opinion about these things, about what they like better and stuff. I like the new one. That's my personal opinion, but at the same time, I truly understand if they're like, it's not my thing. That's fine too. You need to do an Orange Bird episode. I feel like an Orange Bird episode would be a pretty short episode, though. I know a lot about the Orange Bird. I just don't know if I could talk for an entire hour about the Orange Bird. Me, I could talk about most things for an hour. I do have some pretty cool stories about the Orange Bird. I was able to be part of the reintroduction of the Orange Bird into the parks back in 2011, I think it was. Disney did a giveaway on the Disney Parks blog to have it so random guests could be able to be part of the opening ceremony for it, and they only chose like 50 people, and I was one of those 50 people. So, it was pretty cool. So they told us some really cool behind the scenes stories. It's kind of like the new Mickey cartoons. I love them and more people hate them. Yes, I love the new Mickey Mouse cartoons. They are some of the funniest, most cleverly written cartoons of all time. My parents and I actually went on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway today, and that is just amazing. Like, it's just a great attraction. I remember when I first saw the new Mickey Mouse cartoons, and I was like, I don't really like the animation. But then I started watching like the cartoons, and I was like, oh, this storytelling in this is like some of the best storytelling that Disney's ever done about Mickey. I will stand by that because I think I love the old classic Mickey, but there is something about the storytelling in these ones that is just so well done. Like it's so clever, and whoever was in charge of Mike DePopoulos was one of the people. Yeah, they look weird, but if you watch it, start watching like it for the storylines, and then you'll be like, oh, these are the greatest cartoons. I think hands down they are the best Mickey Mouse cartoons. But at the same time, I understand a lot of people don't like them because of the animation style. But as soon as you get past that animation style, and now I actually enjoy the animation style a lot, just because I got used to it, and then now it's like the cartoons are so funny, like they are so well done, especially that, and then we also have the Wonderful World and Mickey Mouse. Those two sets of cartoons together, masterpieces. Actually, the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, the nods to Disney attractions and those are so cool. And then we even have references like the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh in there. It's unbelievable. I love it. Okay, but we're going to be wrapping up with tonight's episode right here. As always, big thank you to our friends who don't drive with motors, they drive with sails because they're friendly. They're my Patreon pals. If you want to become a Patreon pal, send me a message. I will give you all the information on how to become a Patreon pal today. Thank you to our Patreon pals out there for sponsoring tonight's episode. Also, thank you to everyone out there for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show, and from Screen to Team, invite anyone and everyone to join the group on Facebook or to subscribe here on YouTube, where we are currently sitting at 4,009 subscribers. So please keep on throwing things out there on when it will be. Off topic on the streets is Tiana will open April. What do you think? My friend who may or may not be an Imagineer on it said that does not seem too possible. But he said it's possible, but it's not looking extremely possible. From my conversations with people, it sounds more like May/June and maybe July, but probably May/June is what I'm hearing right now. Okay, but as always, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I just can't stand this kind of pressure.